My name is Rachel Morgan, and I'm 29 years old. 3 weeks ago, on a random Thursday night, my boyfriend looked me dead in the eye and told me I needed to babysit his sister's 3 demon children every weekend for the foreseeable future, or he was out. So I let him go. It still sounds dramatic when I say it out loud, even in my own head. But if you'd seen what I'd seen, if you'd lived the last 2 years of my life the way I did, you might understand why my answer came out so fast. For context, my boyfriend, well, ex-boyfriend now, Ethan, is 27. We'd been together for 2 years, living in my condo for the past 8 months. My condo. Bought and paid for 3 years before I even met him. He loved to joke that I was ahead of the curve, and he was still figuring things out. Translated, I had my life together, and he was content to drift as long as someone else cushioned the landing. When we met, he was paying way too much for a shared apartment in a crappy part of town, complaining nonstop about rent, roommates, and how hard it was to save. I suggested he move in with me to save money. Big mistake. Huge. Our agreement was simple. He'd pitch in a modest amount toward utilities and groceries. No rent, since I already owned the place outright. It felt fair. I make good money and didn't need him to split everything 50-50. I just wanted effort. Partnership. He agreed immediately. Of course he did. First month, he actually paid on time. Second month, he said, "Can I pay you next week? It's a tight month." I shrugged it off. Everyone has tight months. By month 6, I'd gotten maybe half of what he was supposed to contribute. I stopped asking. I didn't want to feel like I was shaking down my own boyfriend for money. I told myself I was being generous, supportive, understanding. I was also paying for his phone on my plan, covering most of our groceries, all the streaming services, and letting him drive my old Honda Civic because his car had died, and he didn't want to take on payments yet. Oh, and last month, I'd helped him pay off $200 in credit card debt so he could get a fresh start. All of that was fine, or at least I convinced myself it was fine, until his sister entered the picture. Ethan's older sister, Melissa, moved back to town 6 months ago with her 3 kids, 3, 5, and 7. Let me be very clear about these kids. I'm not exaggerating when I say they're feral. The 7-year-old threw a remote at my TV the last time they visited, cracked the screen, cost me $380 to replace. The 5-year-old treats walls like coloring books. My hallway still has faint blue crayon ghosts no matter how many times I scrub. The 3-year-old screams, not cries, screams, for the joy of it, at pitches that feel like they're drilling directly into your brain. Melissa doesn't discipline them. At all. She says she's gentle parenting, which in practice seems to mean letting them destroy everything while she scrolls TikTok and occasionally sighs. Every time they left my place, I'd walk around in a kind of daze, collecting broken pieces, smudged surfaces, and sticky fingerprints, while Ethan would shrug and say, "They're just kids, babe. Relax." That Thursday night, we were on the couch watching TV. I was half zoned out, finally decompressing after a 50-hour week at work. I'm an operations analyst. My brain is always on fire by Thursday. Ethan muted the show. "So," he said, his voice weirdly serious, "we need to talk about something." That sentence alone is never good news. I paused, remote in hand. "Okay, what's up?" "My sister needs you to watch the kids every Saturday and Sunday." I laughed. Actually laughed. I thought he was setting up a joke. "What?" He didn't smile. "She and her boyfriend want to go clubbing on weekends. You know, get their social life back. The kids cramp their style." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline that didn't come. "You're not serious," I said. "I'm completely serious. You're off weekends. You're just sitting around anyway." "Just sitting around," I repeated slowly, "in my own home, after working 50 hours a week." He rolled his eyes. "It's only 2 days. Step up. Help family." "They're not my family, Ethan. We're not even engaged." His face went cold at that. A switch flipped. "So that's how you see us. Not family." "That's not what I said," I replied, already feeling my chest tightening. "What I said was, I'm not babysitting 3 kids who destroy my stuff every weekend, so your sister can go party." "She needs this," he insisted. "She's a single mom who's been through hell." "She has a boyfriend," I pointed out. "A boyfriend who apparently also wants to go clubbing instead of watching his girlfriend's kids. He's not their dad, but somehow I'm the one who's supposed to step up? I'm not even their aunt." Ethan stood up, shoulders squaring. I could feel it coming, the shift from request to demand. "You need to decide what kind of woman you want to be," he said slowly. "The kind who steps up and helps, or the kind who's selfish. If you can't do this one thing for me, for my family, then maybe you need to reevaluate whether you're ready for a real relationship. I just stared at him. This man, who'd been living in my condo rent-free for 8 months because he was saving for his future. This man, driving my car because he couldn't afford one. This man, whose debt I'd helped pay off. All of that, and suddenly the true test of my character was whether I'd sign up as his sister's free weekend nanny indefinitely. Let me get this straight, I said. My voice sounded oddly calm, even in my own ears. If I don't babysit your sister's kids every single weekend, you're prepared to end our relationship? I'm not threatening anything, he replied, but his tone was smug. I'm telling you to step up or get out. I nodded once. Then I'm out. His jaw literally dropped. What? You heard me, I said, standing up. My knees felt a little shaky, but the words came out clear. I'm not doing it, and if that's your line in the sand, then we're done. You're seriously choosing to be alone over helping for a few hours? He demanded. I'm choosing not to be voluntold to babysit every weekend for the foreseeable future, I replied. There's a difference. He grabbed his phone, his thumbs already flying across the screen. You're going to regret this. Cool, I said. Start packing your stuff. You've got till Sunday. I walked to the bedroom and locked the door behind me. Immediately, I heard his voice in the living room, raised and frantic, no doubt calling Melissa. I sat on the edge of my bed, heart racing, staring at my hands. Was I really doing this, ending a 2-year relationship over this? Then I pictured Melissa's kids running through my condo every weekend. The screaming, the broken things, the total disregard for my space, my time, my sanity. I pictured Ethan sitting on my couch, scrolling his phone while I tried to wrangle 3 feral kids, and his sister staggered home, smelling like tequila at 2 a.m. No, I wasn't ending a relationship over just babysitting. I was ending it over a man who thought my time, energy, and home were his sister's to assign. The next morning proved exactly how right I was. Friday at 7 a.m., I was getting ready for work when someone started pounding on my door. Not knocking. Pounding. I opened it to find Melissa standing there with all 3 kids in various states of chaos. You need to watch them today, she announced, already trying to usher them inside. My boyfriend and I are going to look at apartments. No, I said. She blinked. What? Ethan doesn't live here anymore, I replied, blocking the doorway with my body. Neither do your childcare problems. She frowned. He said you guys had a fight. You'll work it out. Just watch them for today. Not happening, I said. Goodbye. I started to close the door. She stuck her foot in it. Are you serious right now? She snapped. What kind of person refuses to help? The kind who doesn't get voluntold to provide free childcare, I said evenly. Move your foot. They're just kids, she hissed. What's wrong with you? What's wrong, I said, is that you have a boyfriend who lives with you and he's not here right now with his own girlfriend's kids. He can watch them. Or you can hire a babysitter. Either way, it will not be me. Move your foot. The 7-year-old picked that exact moment to try to dart past me into the condo. I blocked him with my leg. Nope, not today, buddy. Melissa scooped him up and glared at me like I'd just kicked a puppy. You're a key, she spat. My brother deserves better. He had better, I said quietly. Then he tried to volunteer me as a free weekend nanny. I pushed the door. She finally moved her foot, and I closed and locked it. I could hear her yelling in the hallway for another minute before she finally stormed off, kids shrieking behind her. I leaned my back against the door and exhaled. My hands were shaking, but underneath the adrenaline was something else. Something like clarity. This wasn't just about kids or babysitting. This was about entitlement. His, hers, their whole families. And for the first time in a long time, I'd chosen myself over their demands. That was the moment I knew I wasn't going back. I was done. I spent the rest of Friday at work replaying everything in my head. By the time I got home that evening, something in me had settled. No more debating. No more bargaining with myself. This was happening. I ordered takeout, ate half of it without really tasting it, then stood in the center of my living room and just looked around. His shoes by the door, his hoodie tossed across the back of the couch, his gaming headset hanging off the armrest. Little markers of how he'd moved into my life and slowly spread out over every surface. I went to the bedroom, pulled out some spare boxes from my closet, and got to work. It was strangely methodical. His side of the closet first. Shirts, hoodies, jeans, all folded and stacked into boxes. His cologne, left on the dresser like a signature. The random drawer full of cables and gadgets he swore he needed but never used. His shaving stuff in the bathroom. I didn't throw anything away. I didn't break anything. I just removed him. Every time I hesitated, I reminded myself, step up or get out. He'd said it like he was sure I didn't have the spine to choose the second option, like he knew me better than I knew myself. Apparently, he didn't. By midnight, there were neat rows of labeled boxes against the wall near the front door. Clothes, toiletries, miscellaneous. His precious collection of decorative throw pillows that he insisted made the living room look finished, but somehow never touched when it came time to do laundry. His yoga mat he never used, but liked to display for Instagram photos about self-care Sundays. All of it lined up and waiting. I slept hard that night, dreamless, exhausted. When I woke up on Saturday, there was a kind of quiet in the apartment I hadn't felt in months. No snoring from the other side of the bed, no faint sound of YouTube videos through the wall, no clutter in the sink from a midnight snack he'd forgotten to clean up. Just silence. By 10 a.m., the locksmith had arrived. I paid $220 for a new deadbolt and had the garage code changed right after. Then I called the building's front desk. "Hi, this is Rachel Morgan in 5B. Just a heads up, my boyfriend and I have broken up. He's no longer a resident here. Please don't let anyone up who isn't on my approved list unless I explicitly confirm it. And if his sister Melissa shows up, call me first before you buzz anyone through." They didn't ask questions. They just noted it. Practical boundaries, layered on top of emotional ones. Sunday morning at 10 a.m., my phone rang. The building's number flashed on the screen. "Ms. Morgan? Ethan is here, and he has 2 women with him. Says they're his mother and sister. Do you want us to let them up?" I hesitated only for a second. "Yes," I said, "let them up. I've got his things ready." A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened it, but didn't step back. Ethan stood there, eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept. Melissa beside him, arms crossed, looking like she was ready for a fight. And behind them, a woman in her late 50s with Ethan's eyes and Melissa's jawline, his mother. They all tried to step forward at once. I lifted my hand and blocked the doorway. "Stop," I said. "You're not coming in. His things are right here." Their eyes slid past me to the stacks of boxes just inside. Ethan's expression crumpled. "You packed my stuff?" he asked, sounding offended, like I'd violated some unspoken rule. "Yes," I said. "You told me to decide. I decided. Your clothes, toiletries, random junk drawer, all in there. You can take them now." His mother stepped forward immediately, voice soft but sharp around the edges. "Young lady, you can't just throw him out like this." "I didn't throw him out," I replied calmly. "He gave me an ultimatum. I made a choice. Now he has until the end of the day to collect his belongings." Ethan's eyes were red. He looked like he'd been crying, and for a tiny second, something in my chest tugged. Then Melissa opened her mouth. "This is insane," she snapped. "All he asked was for a little help with the kids. You're throwing away 2 years over babysitting." I looked her dead in the eyes. "He demanded I babysit 3 children every single weekend indefinitely," I said. "That's not a little help. That's free labor." "They're kids," she said. "You're supposed to love them like family." "I'm not family," I reminded her. "Your brother and I were dating." I let the past tense hang there. 2 years doesn't magically turn me into your built-in nanny. His mother jumped in then, shaking her head as if I were a teenager making a rash decision. "You've been together for 2 years. You don't just throw that away over something so small." "She threw it away," I said, nodding toward Ethan. When he issued an ultimatum. I just refused to play along. I didn't create this problem. I just responded honestly." Ethan finally spoke up. His voice was rough. "Can we please talk alone?" "No," I said. "We can talk right here. You've got about 15 boxes to carry down, and the clock's ticking." "You're not even going to listen to me?" he demanded. "About what?" I asked. "How I'm selfish for having boundaries? How I should sacrifice my weekends indefinitely? Or how somehow your sister's social life is my responsibility?" He flinched like I'd slapped him. Melissa stepped closer, jabbing a finger toward my chest. "You know what? You're pathetic. A real woman would—" "A real woman," I cut in, my voice sharpening, "would establish boundaries and not let people take advantage of her." "Go ahead, finish your sentence." Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. She sputtered, cheeks flushing, eyes flashing with anger she couldn't quite shape into words. I took a breath and let my tone drop back to calm. "Look," I said, "I'll make it simple. Everything of his is packed. Take it now. If anything is still here at 6 p.m., it goes to donation. Your choice." They exchanged looks. For a second, I thought Ethan might refuse, might try to call my bluff and force some kind of showdown. But in the end, practicality won. They started hauling boxes. It took 3 trips down to the garage. The whole time, his mom muttered, just loud enough for me to hear, You're making a mistake. You'll never find anyone as good as my son. Family helps family. This is what happens when women get too independent. I didn't bite. I just held the door each time they passed, then let it close. On the last trip, Ethan lingered in the hallway. He looked smaller somehow, like someone had let the air out of him. I can't believe you're doing this over something so stupid, he said quietly. I met his eyes. It's not stupid to you, I said. You literally ended our relationship over it. You said step up or get out. I got out. I didn't mean it like that, he protested. You don't give someone an ultimatum unless you're prepared for them to pick the other option, I said. You weren't. That's on you. He looked past me into the condo like he was memorizing the space, the couch, the TV, the life he'd been living on a discount. Can I just come in and talk? He asked, one last time. I shook my head. No, that's not a good idea. His lips pressed into a thin line. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but I'd regret staying more. They left. I closed the door, turned the new deadbolt. For a long moment, I just stood there in the quiet, listening to my own breathing. The apartment felt empty, but not in the heartbreaking way I'd imagined. It was like taking off a heavy backpack I'd forgotten I was wearing. My shoulders ached, but they were finally free. I walked through each room like I was seeing it for the first time. My couch, my table, my shelves without his clutter, my bedroom, with only my clothes left in the closet. In the bathroom, I spotted one last thing, his old razor shoved behind my skincare products. I picked it up, stared at it for a second, then tossed it into a small box and left it outside the door with a sticky note. Forgot this. Back inside, I made myself a cup of tea and sat on the couch, legs tucked under me, staring at the TV he'd helped break by proxy. I waited for the sadness to crash in, for the loneliness, for the what-ifs. Instead, all I felt was relief. Messy, complicated, tinged with adrenaline relief, but relief all the same. For the first time in months, Sunday belonged entirely to me. The relief of Sunday didn't last long. By Monday morning, the harassment campaign had begun. It started subtly, Ethan sending 4 texts in a row like nothing had happened. Ethan, can we talk? We need to talk. You're being dramatic. I love you. Please stop this. I didn't respond. By noon, the tone had shifted. Ethan, you think changing the locks is legal? You can't do that. We need to fix this. You're ruining everything. Nope, no, I wasn't. I was finally cleaning up the mess I'd ignored for far too long. That evening, I stopped by the store for groceries. When I got home, I found a tiny note from building security tucked under my door. FYI, your ex's sister tried to come up earlier. We didn't allow her access. Called as you requested. I stared at the note for a long moment, pulse ticking like a clock. She'd really come back. Again. This time without kids. Just entitlement. I folded the note, threw it in the trash, and went about my evening, but my jaw stayed tight. I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. The next morning, things escalated in a way I didn't expect. A new notification lit up my phone. Venmo request from Melissa for $400. The note read, "Child care fees you would have paid." I let out a stunned laugh, declined it immediately. Sent a note back. That's not how reality works. 10 minutes later, she sent another one. For $600. This time the note read, "Emotional distress." I stared at my screen. I declined again. Then blocked her. This was turning surreal. Later that afternoon, my phone started ringing from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again and again, 5 times. 7, 9. Finally, I answered, mostly to stop the cycle. Hello? Ethan's voice hit me immediately. High, stressed, frantic. We need to talk about the car. Of course, the car. The same car I'd let him use for the past 8 months. The same car I'd insured, fueled, maintained. What about it? I said. I need it for work, he snapped. You can't take it away. I didn't take anything away, I replied. You borrowed it. Borrowing ends now. Bring it back by Friday at 5 p.m., or I'll report it stolen. Silence. Then, you're insane. It's not stolen. You let me use it. And now I'm unletting you, I said. Friday, 5 p.m. He sucked in a breath like he couldn't believe I wasn't folding. I don't have another car. Then buy one. I don't have the money. Not my problem, I said. He made a strangled sound. You can't do this? Actually, I said I can. I hung up. He called back 14 more times. I didn't answer once. Wednesday morning brought a new character into the mess. My work phone rang. Corporate line. I answered briskly, expecting a vendor. What you need to do, a deep voice boomed without introduction, is apologize to my daughter. I blinked. Who is this? This is Ethan's father, he said, puffed up with authority he imagined mattered to me. And you owe my boy an apology. You embarrassed him. You owe him a conversation. I don't owe your son anything, I said calmly. Or you. This conversation is over. Young lady? Click. He called back. I sent it to voicemail. When I checked it later, it was a rambling speech about respect, family loyalty, and how I needed to stop acting childish. Delete. A dull ache began forming at the base of my skull. His family wasn't just entitled, they were a coordinated unit of chaos. Thursday, it escalated again. Security called. Miss Morgan, your ex's sister is here again, demanding to be let up. Do not let her up, I said. She is not a resident. They did not. She apparently threw a tantrum in the lobby, loud enough that other residents complained. I only knew because 3 different acquaintances sent me screenshots of Melissa's public rant on Facebook. A full paragraph accusing me of alienating the family, holding Ethan hostage emotionally, keeping him from his support system. I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. The comments were divided. Half declared I was selfish. The other half said, she doesn't owe your kids a single minute. Girl, hire a babysitter. Sounds like you overstepped. I didn't reply, but I took screenshots. Evidence, just in case. By Friday, I was ready for the car showdown. At 3 p.m., Ethan texted from another new number. I can't bring the car today. Need more time. Me. Nothing to discuss. 5 p.m. Ethan. You're being unreasonable. I need transportation. Me. Uber exists. 5's here. Ethan. What if I literally can't make it? Me. Then at 5:01, I report the vehicle stolen. Silence. Then. Ethan. You wouldn't. Me. Try me. At 4:57 p.m., his messages changed tone. I'm here. I went down to the garage. He was standing next to the Civic, jaw tight, throwing the keys in his hand like he wanted to hurl them at me again. When he saw me coming, he tossed them. The keys clattered on the concrete. You're such a... He cut himself off, jaw flexing. I picked up the keys without breaking eye contact. Thanks, I said softly. He stood there, chest rising and falling like he was working up to something. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Really talk. Not like this. Not angry. Just us. No, I said. He blinked rapidly. You're really just going to throw away 2 years like nothing? You threw it away, I reminded him, when you gave me an ultimatum. It wasn't an ultimatum, he insisted. I was just upset. He swallowed, needed you to step up. Your exact words, I said. Step up or get out. So I got out. His face twisted. I miss you, he said suddenly, voice cracking. I miss us. Can we fix this somehow? No, I said again. We can't. He stared, hope draining from his eyes like water down a sink. Maybe we can compromise, he tried. Maybe just some weekends. No weekends, I said sharply. None. 0. I am not, and will never be, your sister's free childcare. He looked away. Melissa needs help, he said weakly. Then she can ask her boyfriend, I replied, or hire someone, or ask your parents, but she doesn't get to volunteer me. He swallowed hard. Right, he said. X, because you made a choice. Exactly, I said, and now we're both living with it. I opened the car door, slid in, and closed it. He stood there in the rearview mirror, crying, shoulders shaking. I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not guilt. Just emptiness. A calm, clean emptiness. I put the car in reverse and drove away. That was the moment I knew. There was no part of this relationship left worth grieving. The weekend after the car incident was strangely peaceful, quiet in a way that felt almost artificial, like the calm before a storm. I should have known it wouldn't last. On Monday morning, I arrived at my favorite coffee shop, the place I'd gone to for years before Ethan, during Ethan, and now, after Ethan. It was part of my ritual. Order a vanilla latte, answer emails, spend 15 minutes pretending life wasn't chaotic. I had just taken my first sip when someone slid into the seat across from me. I didn't even need to look up. Melissa. Her hair was disheveled, dark circles under her eyes, the brittle tension of a woman absolutely sure everyone else was the problem. We need to talk, she said. No, I said without looking up. We don't. She leaned forward. You ruined my brother's life. I raised an eyebrow. Your brother gave me an ultimatum. You didn't have to take it, she shot back. I let out a slow exhale. Oh? So when someone says, step up or get out, what do you think that means? That it's a coupon I can redeem later? You're twisting everything, she snapped. My sister, she jabbed her thumb toward herself, needed help. You could have supported her. You could have supported us. I finally looked up from my coffee. You mean free childcare, I said. Say the actual words. She crossed her arms. You were part of the family. No, I said. I was dating Ethan. And even if we had been engaged, even married, guess what? I still wouldn't be obligated to give up every weekend for the rest of my life so you can go clubbing. That's not what this is about, she hissed. Really, I said. Great, let's find out. I sipped my coffee, then asked, Where are your kids right now? The question landed like a brick. She blinked. What? I asked where your 3 children are. My boyfriend is watching them, she snapped. Why? I tilted my head. Huh, interesting. And is he their father? Oh, no. So, I said, sitting back, your boyfriend is perfectly capable of watching your kids on a Saturday morning, but somehow I, who don't even share DNA with them, was supposed to give up every weekend indefinitely to make your life easier? Her jaw clenched. That's different. How? I asked. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. You're twisting things, she said finally. No, Melissa, I said gently. I'm pointing out that you wanted a free service. You didn't ask, you demanded, through your brother, who tried to enforce it with an ultimatum. For a moment, her facade cracked. She looked exhausted, like the chaos she inflicted on everyone else had finally wrapped back around her. She stood abruptly. You're heartless, she said. My brother loved you. No, I said quietly. Your brother loved the idea of a girlfriend who'd babysit every weekend. When I didn't fit that fantasy, the ultimatum came out. She froze, eyes flashing. I hope you're happy, she spat. I'm peaceful, I corrected. There's a difference. She stormed out without another word. I took another sip of my latte, hand steady, heart unexpectedly calm. The next few days were quiet. Then, out of nowhere, an email pinged into my inbox. Subject line, about my brother. It was from Ethan's younger sibling, someone I barely knew. We'd met twice at holiday gatherings. I opened it. Hi, Rachel. I just wanted to apologize for how my family's been acting. Ethan told me the whole story, including the parts he left out when he was complaining to Mom and Dad. The ultimatum thing was messed up. And volunteering you for babysitting every weekend? Yeah. No. My sister Melissa has a history of pulling this stuff with everyone. She's incredibly entitled. Anyway, you dodged a bullet. Good luck. I stared at the email for a minute, surprised by the unexpected validation. Then I typed a simple reply. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it. I didn't need anything more. Vindication wasn't the point. But it felt good, like someone had quietly turned on a light in a room I'd forgotten was dark. 2 days later, grocery store. I was halfway through the frozen foods aisle, debating between garlic knots or plain dinner rolls, when I heard a familiar laugh. It was a man's laugh, deep, warm, casual, and then I heard his voice. Ethan. I turned, and there he was, with a woman I'd never seen before, cute, brunette, smiling at him with a softness that told me they'd known each other longer than a week. He saw me first. His face froze, then something flickered behind his eyes. Guilt? Embarrassment? Panic? I wasn't sure. The woman beside him followed his gaze and looked at me with polite curiosity. Ethan looked away first. He didn't say hello, didn't walk over, didn't even wave. He just turned back to his cart and kept moving. And I realized, standing there between frozen peas and pie crusts, he'd already found someone new, or was trying to. Maybe both. And here's the thing, it didn't hurt. Not even a little. What washed through me instead was something like closure. A simple understanding. Whatever we had was already gone the moment he chose his sister's convenience over our relationship. That night, I cleaned my apartment. Not because it was dirty, just because I felt like it. I organized the pantry, rearranged the shelf of plants near the window, lit a candle that Ethan used to complain gave him a headache. Lavender and cedarwood filled the air, and my shoulders relaxed. For the first time in months, the space felt like mine again. I made tea, sat on the couch, put on a playlist I loved, and felt good, really, genuinely good. But there was one more surprise left. Just when I thought the saga was finally ending, my phone buzzed with a new text. From an unknown number. Melissa, hope you're happy. My brother's already moved on. Found someone better. I stared at the message, then typed back. Good for him. I'm happy too. And I meant it. Not with bitterness, not with spite. Just truth. Her response was instant. You're such a cold-hearted I blocked the number without replying. And as the screen went dark, a thought settled in my chest, like a final puzzle piece clicking into place. Ultimatums reveal people, not the kind they pretend to be, but who they truly are. And I had finally chosen myself. For once in my life, that was enough. After blocking Melissa's number, I set my phone face down on the coffee table and leaned back into the couch cushions. The apartment was still, quiet, warm. For the first time in a long time, there was no storm lurking just outside the door. No raised voices, No tension simmering beneath polite conversations. No walking on eggshells to avoid setting off someone else's entitlement. Just me. And the silence? It felt like peace. The next morning, I woke up naturally. No alarm, no clatter from Ethan in the kitchen, no chaos before work. Sun streamed through the blinds, brushing across my face like a soft reminder. You're free. I got up, brewed coffee, and stood barefoot in my living room, looking around at a home that finally looked like mine again. The relief was subtle at first, then it surged, warm and steady. It wasn't until midday that I realized something strange. No missed calls, no unknown numbers, no long, angry paragraphs from his mother. The quiet held. I hadn't realized how conditioned I'd become to expecting drama, to flinching when my phone lit up, to bracing for another accusation, another emotional ambush, another manipulative guilt trip wrapped in family values. I stepped onto my balcony with my mug in hand and let the cold air bite at my skin. My mind drifted back through the past 2 years, every moment where I swallowed discomfort to keep the peace, every time I convinced myself I was being understanding. Every weekend I gave up because Ethan wanted company or didn't want to run errands alone. Somewhere along the way, I had mistaken accommodating someone for loving them. And in the same breath, I realized Ethan had mistaken using someone for being supported. By Wednesday, I was getting my life back. I'd fixed the screen door that had been broken for months, painted the spare room a soft gray that I'd always wanted, cleaned out the drawers Ethan had filled with tangled cords and random odds and ends that he swore he'd use one day. The apartment felt lighter. Everything did. I even slept better. No tossing and turning, no listening for someone coming home late, no waking up to someone slamming cabinets while making cereal at 2 a.m. Just rest. Real rest. On Thursday, during lunch hour, I met up with my friend Dana, someone I hadn't seen properly in ages. "You look radiant," she said, narrowing her eyes. "Are you seeing someone new?" I laughed, avoiding someone old. She sipped her iced tea thoughtfully. "Good. It was time. He never treated you like a partner." "I know," I said quietly, "but I didn't realize how bad it was until I stepped away from it." "That's how it always is," she said. "Storm's loudest when you're inside it." I smiled at the truth in that. We talked for nearly 2 hours, catching up on normal life things, not crisis things. It felt good to be more than someone's unpaid emotional laborer. Good to reclaim pieces of myself I hadn't even realized I'd given away. That night, something inside me finally clicked into full clarity. I sat on my couch with a notebook in hand, something I hadn't done since college, and I wrote down a list of truths, real ones, the kind you only see once the fog lifts. 1. Ultimatums aren't invitations to negotiate. They're warnings. Ethan had shown me exactly how he viewed me, with conditions attached, my value measured in what I could provide. 2. Boundaries aren't selfish. Being exploited is. I had spent months giving, bending, accommodating, until there was nothing left to give. 3. Love without respect is just dependency wearing perfume. Ethan didn't want a partner. He wanted convenience that looked like partnership. 4. Peace is worth more than companionship, every time. The silence in my apartment was worth more than any apology he could have offered. On Friday morning, the final piece of closure arrived in the form of a voicemail. Not from Ethan or Melissa or their mother. From a number I didn't recognize. I pressed play. "Hi, this is Amber from Premier Auto Sales. Just confirming we've listed your Honda Civic at the price you gave us. We've already had some interest and will update you when an offer comes in." I smiled. A week later, the car sold for $4,200, $700 more than I had offered to sell it to Ethan for. That alone paid for my broken TV, the locksmith, and still left a few $100s to spare. Not everything about breakups needs to be painful. Some parts can be oddly satisfying. By the 3rd week post-ultimatum, the noise had finally died. No more calls, no more Venmo requests, no more surprise visits or tantrums in my lobby. His family had moved on to their next fixation, wherever that was, and I had moved on to myself. The final moment of clarity came one night as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, hearing nothing but the hum of the heater and the soft tick of my bedside clock. Ethan had made me feel like I was obligated to accommodate everyone around him, like my time belonged to them, like my weekends belonged to his sister, like my home belonged to everyone except me. But now, my time was mine, my weekends were mine, my home was mine. I hadn't realized how much I'd been drowning until I stopped holding someone else afloat. If there's anything I learned from all of this, it's simple. When someone tries to volunteer your time, your home, your peace without asking, that isn't love, that's entitlement. And entitlement only grows when you feed it. Ultimatums are just masks for manipulation. And when someone hands you one, they're showing you who they really are. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do, the healthiest, kindest thing you can do for yourself, is to walk away. Even if they call you selfish, even if they call you cold, even if they cast you as the villain in their story. Better to be the villain there than the doormat in your own. 3 weeks ago, Ethan told me, "Step up or get out." I chose to get out. And walking out, it wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning of peace, of clarity, of myself again.